Thank you all so much for joining us tonight to honor PDS, and thank you for your continued commitment and support of the work of the Southern Center for Human Rights. I want to offer a special thanks to some of our most treasured guests, Congressman Bobby Scott, who we are delighted to have join us today. I also want to offer a special thank you to Laura Flint, who is with us tonight. Laura, thank you for you and Senator Feingold's incredible work on advocacy for so many years on the issues that are so big. Thank you. And thank you to all the folks who are here from the White House who are serving currently and previously, the folks from the courts and from the Department of Justice. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you hearing the stories and being there when we need you. I also want to take one more moment to recognize the incredible Southern Center staff who made this event possible. In particular, the folks who are here tonight, Julia Robinson-Hicks, Renee Myers, Celestine Patton, and in particular, our fabulous development director, Barbara Horowitz, whose efforts are making this evening tonight to remember. Thank you, Barbara. And if you would, allow me a point of personal privilege to just thank my family for being here. My parents, Emil and Louise, and my sister, Reen, who came from Chicago to support the Southern Center. Thank you so much. This is, I think, maybe our record number of people to have here at the dinner. And I just want to let you know that what this means is that we will go boldly into 2011 in continuing to do this work that we do. To give you a sense of what your generosity will support, please allow me to give you a few snapshots of what the Southern Center has accomplished in the last year. And please know that I'm here as an ambassador on behalf of the rest of the staff of the Southern Center, most of whom are not here tonight, just to give you a little taste of the work that they do to tell the stories of our clients and hopefully to share the importance of what we're doing on a daily basis. So in 2010, a pretty well-known Southern Center employee by the name of Steve Bright managed to catapult Georgia's public defender crisis into the national spotlight when he took on the case of Jamie Ryan Weiss, a young man facing capital murder charges who was deprived of any meaningful counsel for more than 2.5 years due to funding inadequacies within Georgia's public defender system. And I think I'm going to leave this for Steve to tell you a little bit more about, but know that with your support, we, the Southern Center, will be able to continue to intervene in these pretrial cases and litigate funding inadequacies and failure to provide counsel in capital cases. This year, the Southern Center reinvigorated our struggle to save Georgia's fledgling public defender system. We had numerous lawsuits, one of which was on behalf of poor people who were not provided attorneys to handle their motions for new trials and appeals. In another case, we were able to win a consent agreement that forced the state to appoint counsel within 1 day of arrest and put caps on the number of cases that contract attorneys can carry at any time. This was made possible through our litigation in Georgia's Northern Judicial Circuit. And at the time that we filed this lawsuit, approximately 300 people did not have lawyers. This year, we continued our long commitment to fighting for our clients on death row. The Southern Center for Human Rights remains committed to strengthening the quality of capital defense and representation in Georgia and Alabama, which are two of the most active death penalty jurisdictions in the nation. We engage in innovative and bold litigation that's complemented by strategic policy reform aimed at educating lawmakers, the courts, and the public about the deep-rooted problems in the death penalty system in the South. This year, we determined that we could make a greater impact in Alabama by taking on more capital direct appeals. And as a result, we've ensured that more Alabama death row inmates are well represented at this critical stage, increasing the chances of reversal and preserving issues for eventual review in federal court. From the in-depth investigations all across the rural South, to expert testimony fees, to multi-day trial costs, your support has allowed us to provide exceptional legal counsel to clients who would otherwise have none. And just to give you an example of what that really looked like, let me tell you about our client, LaSamuel Gamble. Just last month, the Southern Center won a reversal in Samuel Gamble's death sentence. What happened was, in Gamble's 1996 capital trial, his lawyers presented no evidence at all in the penalty phase, and called no witnesses on his behalf. It's no surprise that he was sentenced to death, but it was attended to the jury. And so we appealed on his behalf. Gamble's fate hinged on one thing more than anything else: the fact that he was poor. His lawyers had operated under severe financial constraints and were paid extremely little to represent him. We challenged his death sentence on the grounds that he was denied a very basic right to effective assistance of counsel. And fortunately, the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals agreed and reversed Gamble's sentence on the ground that Gamble's trial lawyers failed to investigate and present mitigating evidence at the penalty phase of his trial. We're also exposing some of the many miscarriages of justice in Georgia's capital punishment system. This year, we filed a brief in the case of a young man named Timothy Foster, challenging the prosecution's use of its jury strikes to exclude all the black jurors from the jury pool. And this exclusion resulted in Foster, who's an African-American man, being sentenced to death by an all-white jury. We were able to show that prosecutors conducted extensive background investigations into each one of the black jurors, but nothing into the prospective white jurors. We also were able to highlight how the prosecutor urged the all-white jury to sentence Foster to death because, quote, it will deter other people out there in the projects. This great work is done by our capital litigation unit, which is led by our managing attorney, Raul Shoneman. Raul, will you stand up for a second? Your support allows us to provide exceptional advocacy for all of our clients on death row. It is through our litigation, as evidenced in the cases of Jamie Reese, Timothy Foster, and Samuel Gamble, that we drill down past the superficial appearance of due process and expose the prosecutorial misconduct, the inadequate counsel, the blatant racism, and the judicial biases that permeate our death penalty system. We've also had a big year in our impact litigation, with our impact litigation work. This year, we continued to challenge the violent and unconstitutional conditions at Donaldson Correctional Facility, Alabama's maximum security prison for men. Donaldson has long been an overcrowded and extraordinarily dangerous institution in which stabbings and beatings have left men with slit throats, punctured lungs, ruptured organs, loss of vision, paralysis, head trauma, disfigurement, and other injuries. In fact, the conditions are just so dangerous at Donaldson that the Alabama Correctional Officers Association came out with a statement in support of the Southern Center's litigation and against the Department of Corrections. The Southern Center is currently pursuing a settlement agreement in this case that we hope will resolve many of the problems in this prison. Your support has allowed us to leverage our litigation for positive change in one of Alabama's most notorious prisons. Across the South, the Southern Center continues to intervene on behalf of people who are tangled up in the criminal justice system for no other reason than that they are poor. The Cook County Jail in Adel, Georgia, used to be packed with men and women jailed for being unable to reimburse the state for TANF benefits received by their kids. Many of these people did not have lawyers and had never appeared before a judge, and many had been in jail for over a year. Of the 140 people that were held in this rural jail, nearly 1/3 of them, 32 men and 13 women, all African American, were incarcerated for child support. Thanks to your support, SCHR was able to challenge the common and utterly nonsensical practice of jailing people for their poverty and won the release of 21 men and women, all of whom had been wrongfully imprisoned for 6 to 14 months. Every single one of these individuals was indigent. One of the develops I'm most excited to tell you about tonight is to kind of give you the next chapter in stories you've heard previously, and that is that our case and our work challenging Georgia's restrictions for people on our sex offender registry. You may recall the story of our lead plaintiff, Wendy Whitaker, who is labeled a sex offender for no other reason that when she was 17, she had one-time consensual oral sex with her 15-year-old classmate. This was 12 years ago. I should also mention that Wendy is white and her classmate was black, and they live in rural Georgia.